Hello, and welcome to Connecting You to You Radio, where we tune in to receive the messages of health and well being that are being broadcast from the soul. I'm your host, Lisa Warner, author of The Simplicity of Self-Healing. I show you how to heal your body naturally by combining your body's innate intelligence with the wisdom of your own soul, so that you can break through the mental programming of limiting beliefs that cause disease and make healing your body and changing your life simple. Hello and welcome, everyone. Welcome to another Soul Stories, because every soul has a story. And today we are going to hear the story of Dr. Liz LeClair. Liz is a coach, a trainer, and a healer. She has been working her life mission for over 40 years. She is helping her clients reach wholeness and healing by finding inner peace and success. And I am so excited to learn more about Liz. Liz and I met recently, and we just kind of have connected and hit it off. So I'm super excited to have you here today. Dr. Liz, welcome.
Oh, thank you, Lisa. Thank you for having me. It's such a treat to be here. It's so fun. Usually I'm on your end of the spectrum, inviting and talking and doing and creating. So it's such a treat to be a guest. It's such a treat. Yeah. So you want to hear my story? Well, shall I start like Ishmael? I was born.
There you go. I was born a poor Black child.
Yeah. Yeah. I so my family, I'll just briefly, whatever my lifehood was, is when I grew up. Like many of us, my family of origin was definitely challenging, like for many people, and I would say for many way showers, we almost have to, as I like to say, climb out of the bucket of slime. You have to either lay down and die or get up and do something. So growing up, also, I remember being 12 years old, 4 years old, 5 years old, always knowing there was some sort of God. We might call it this now source, but whatever you want to call it, God, Allah, it doesn't matter, but a source, spirit, universe, whatever we call what we talk to. I just believe that I just knew there was a something out there that created us. So even as a little girl, I always was seeking, 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 like the big questions of life, the big metaphysics of, I would do it from, like, I remember when I was 12, I made my own book of prayers to God, and I had candles and incense, and I made my own prayer. I was doing my own like Wiccan pagan style, like worship. I didn't know anything. I never was exposed to any religions. I just was doing some weird worship stuff because I didn't know what to do. But I had some insight. Oh, incense, candles. I think I should have these things. But I remember just asking, like, what are we here for? What are we supposed to be doing? Um, how do we serve? Are we supposed to be? I saw people going off being very selfish. I saw people, some would say service to self. I saw some people serving others. So what do I want to do? My family was more service to self. What do I want to do? I was kind of one of those black sheep that was actually wanting to be nice, but whatever, the weird one. Um, but I never actually had like hugely psychic experiences or intuitive experiences, but I felt in my life very, very guided. So at first, when I was younger, I wanted to be a dancer. I wanted to be a dancer. I wanted to dance, dance, dance. And my family, my parents never, they said, hey, if you go to college and become a scientist, we'll pay for college. And I was like, okay, I don't care. So I'm not harmed by that one. So I became a scientist, so for the first, I don't know, 15 years of my like working career after college, I was basically a scientist. I worked in the pharmaceutical industry. I learned about big pharma, if any of your listeners know what we're talking about. But I was a researcher at UC Davis, working on a doctorate, an MD, PhD, then later just a doctorate on different science things. And left that. I didn't get a doctorate, but I was a scientist because I wanted to use science to find the answers of life. Right. And I actually had a project in grad school where I was actually researching the origin of life. I was actually grinding up meteorites and pulling out the non-contaminated parts and finding a lot of lipid type, like cellular bilayer, biological cellular bilayer molecules. So my professor and I thought that maybe lipids or like liposomes that could encapsulate things made the first cells. Like I said, Lisa, I've always been interested in life, what we're here for, what's going on. So we're trying to find how on early Earth life might have evolved. So I was working on encapsulating interesting things like pyrophosphate, which might have been an early precursor to adenosine triphosphate. How can we get, and I was able to create energy layers. So energy bilayers. In other words, I'm talking quickly, I know, but basically finding ways that using the cellular bilayer, an early proto cell could create an energy gradient to power energetic reactions, to power energetic things going on in the cell,
Mhm.
like chromosomal uh, um, um, duplication and things like that, meiosis, mitosis. So I was researching that. And then we had in 1989, it was the earthquake that happened in Berkeley, and then I was taking an intuitive class training down in Berkeley, UC Berkeley, with some training. Her name was Lynn Andrews, who's an early shaman, early shamanic writer. Lynn Andrews and her guy, I was taking like shamanic drumming and doing power animals. That was like the first woo thing I ever did.
Uh,
But I had the intuition. I also trained dogs. I was training my dog after grad school. And then I had the intuition not to go drive down to that class in 1989 in October, which would have had me drive over the Nimitz freeway. And I'm not saying I would have died, but I might have been trapped down there in traffic, whatever. So I'm like, I guess I don't need the intuition class. So then I began to, but then I realized I wanted to work with like a unit of consciousness. I was also reading the Seth material. This is old school stuff, right? Seth. So I was reading the Seth material and learning about the Jane Roberts stuff. I've been to her old apartment where she channeled him, by the way, in New York. That was super fun. Anyway, where he was talking about units of consciousness. And I went, oh my gosh, I don't care about the cell. I care about the consciousness that is empowering the unit of life. Right. So I'm like, huh. So I left the graduate program and then I got married, started having babies, and was living in Boston and Connecticut, and leaving science too, leaving that, and I was just raising my children. But while I was raising my children, I became an licensed acupuncturist. Again, I was just moving into energy from the consciousness and energy from looking at biological life, like physical matter. So I'll stop there. So take a pause, take a breath as I moved into energy work.
wow, I really love that. Because so much of science these days doesn't take consciousness into consideration.
Yeah,
And we can't separate body, mind, and soul. The soul is the consciousness that
right,
energizes the cellular structure. So
right,
how intuitive of you to be able to
right.
recognize that.
Right. Right. So you make me think of 2 things, Lisa. One is, while I never have overtly, like, I don't just see grandma walking through the room or something.
Right.
I have clairsentience like no one's business, right? But, uh, but I don't see things. I don't remember my dreams. I'm kind of a rube and psychic rube, and even though I train my clients in psychic training because they ask. Anyway, in my 20s and late 20s and early 30s, I began to take every sort of energy course. I entered the Four Winds Society with Alberto Vialdo,
Oh, yeah.
became a Reiki master. Like everyone I seem to interview is a Reiki master, but everyone, like, so all the energy things, all the things. And then I also, at some point realized I wanted to divorce my husband. Long story. I divorced him, but I needed some work. So I was looking into becoming a high school science teacher, or I was in seminary at the time too. I was used to be an uber Christian, and I was at Gordon Conwell Seminary, and I was, which is like number 3. It's the Princeton to the Harvard and Yale of evangelical seminaries. So I was all Uber, like, get your Bibles out, man. So, and nothing against anyone who's still there, but I'm just no longer there in that space. Anyway, but I was still seeking answers, talking to God, seeking answers. Is it a religion? Is it energy? And so while I'm a licensed acupuncturist, I'm an Uber Christian. Anyway, so I was in seminary looking at the original languages of the Bible, love that. Uh, and so a couple things happened. So back when I was in the pharmaceutical industry, I have a sort of a whistleblower story. I was working on drug dosage studies for people with who are in orphan drug status. In other words, the stuff they had going on was so rare. Their disease was so rare that pharmaceutical companies could claim orphan drug status because they claimed they weren't ever going to make a lot of money on it. So they never had to have a clone in the pharmacy. So they could always charge buku bucks, right? But I was doing drug dosage studies and I wasn't getting any results. I wasn't getting any. So I told my PI, primary investigator, and she goes, "Oh, don't worry, Liz. I watched, my point is, I've watched a number of my PIs fumble, fuddle, fiddle with the data to get it to be published. But this was me in on the inside seeing data being manipulated for drug dosage. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is for people. We're not talking killing insects on the fields, which we're talking people being given something, which is just bullshit, frankly. So yeah. So I'm going to stop there. So I had to leave the pharmaceutical industry because I just couldn't. And my name was on some of those papers. I'm like, no, no, you don't have to put my name on. I wasn't the primary name, but I don't need my name on that. But I saw the BS, and I'm not saying everybody. I worked for two pharmaceutical countries and companies, and I saw it in the academy, in the school, in the universities too, 3 times. So I was aware that this goes on, and it happens in every big industry, big banks, and you know, it happens everywhere, but I just happened to be in big pharma. So anyway, so then I realized I was very intuitive too. So anyway, I was in the process of looking for a job and I was in seminary and the short of it is I became an army chaplain. I entered the US Army. The other thing about me is I've always loved fitness and health. So I've always been, except sometimes like during pregnancy, et cetera, extremely healthy and trim and fit because of early health issues. I knew it was important for me to stay trim and healthy because I'll just put it this way. I had my heart attack early. I had a brain hemorrhage when I was 22.
Mm,
Wasn't supposed to live, but I was aware that I have like a handicap on the body already. So for me to keep the weight off, it's actually to live. It's like I've been scared straight at 22. That makes sense. So anyway, I always try to be fit and trim. And so I was able to get into I was commissioned in the Army at age 46
wow.
as a first lieutenant. And I'm out now. I aged out at 60 in the reserves, they boot you out. And but I was able to serve soldiers and in some units, sailors and Marines. Like I'm gonna cry because like I just love that community so much. I was able to support them not just with religion, but every day during the week, I was just their counselor. I was their pastor. I helped them make good decisions. I also had to do staff officer work. I had to be a soldier too, as an officer and a warrior and a soldier, and also having to get my shit done so I could help people make good decisions. And as I told them, to keep their families, right? During deployments, after deployments, when they're out of the army. And so that was it. Besides my 4 children that I had, of course, I had 2 kids, I adopted 2, a lot of life, right? Um, Outside of that, it's been the highlight of my life. I got to be a special chaplain with special forces. I know the inside of that community. That it's been such an honor. I've deployed twice, but only to Kuwait because that's where the staff officers go. I came out of the army as a lieutenant colonel, and a year ago I'm out. So I'm now just working for myself in the field of energy medicine, shamanic healing, energy medicine. Oh, and so I'm going back and forth a little bit, but when I was on deployment this last time, I went to support what we call the Afghanistan retrograde, which is the retreat. But in the Army, we don't say retreat, we say retrograde. But it was basically pulling out of Afghanistan. So I saw some crazy shenanigans there too. And I'm actually writing a book about that. Not to call people out, but just this absolute silliness. like like I used to say to people, remember when we used to fight and win the nation's wars? Like, oh, right, we don't. I do love my soldiers. I love the people on the ground, but I feel like the missions from on high were very silly at times, right? So nothing against the sister services, nothing against my military. I am still in by heart a military person. I'm still military. I am, whether it's been mind controlled, but I am like love my soldiers. So and military dogs too, by the way. Military dogs we love more than soldiers. I came out from that deployment actually. I love fasting. I'm a fasting nut. But I came down like Matsui Usui. I forget the guy who did Reiki, who's the Reiki guy. So someone will correct me, but I did the Reiki course and I just forget his name. He came down off the mountain with Reiki, supposedly, right? He
Right.
had some symbols he went up to the top with. Well, I did the same thing with my fasting. I came back with my fasting, Lisa. This was in the fall of 21 when I got back, 2021. I came down with a download of a new healing system, a new modality. It's fun to have so many. and we need all of them, but combining all of the psychology stuff I'd done as my training as a chaplain, which is basically a pastor and a psychologist without all the certifications. And then all the energy work, all the woo stuff, the shamanic stuff, emotion code, body code, all those things that Reiki, all the energy things. Like if you name it, I've probably dipped my toe in it, whether I got the cert in it or not. And then also to stay fit, I've brought in elements of I do yoga, so I'm a 500-hour yoga teacher trainer, but I use it more independently with clients. I don't teach in front of classes. I mean, again, I'm 61, I'm pretty fit, but I cannot compete with a 25-year-old who's like flipping all over and doing acro yoga and jumping off the wall and doing handstand push-ups. But I'm pretty good, pretty good. But what I use it as in my coaching to help often women in their 50s, that tends to be my clients because I'm a little ahead of them. But women in their 50s changing careers, who haven't been fit in a while or since their children or due to an injury or illness or being on lots of meds or something, they've lost some fitness. So if it's useful and they want to go that route, I use that to, like, I teach the 5 Tibetan rites, which is easy baby stuff for, not baby, like it's just a great intro into like a yoga fitness and stuff. But so I have my own healing system. I call it quantum rewiring. So I do that. But I just do a lot of a little bit of everything, Lisa.
I love it. Yeah, I mean, in this day and age, we need to be able to do a lot of different things because it's not just one size fits all. There's not just one answer for everyone, and everybody is on a different part of their journey. So, really what I see is like we're all in this to help wake each other up
Yes.
to who we truly are and what our gifts and talents are, and really what's going on in the universe. Like you were saying, when you were little, you were always like you knew there was something that was divine, and you knew that we were here for that there was more to life. And now, at this point in our human collective history, it's like it's time for us to realize, like, wait a second, there is way more than what we're being shown and what we're being presented with. And,
Yes.
there's really not that need for us to suffer and battle and struggle through life anymore.
Exactly. I like what you're saying, Lisa, because we have different seasons of life. We come here with like all the children on the earth, like they come with different levels of awareness and awakening and different desires to do so. And they get stuck in different places and mired down. And you're right. I just did it on my own content. On my own YouTube channel, I talked about no gurus. I think it's good for us to reach out for helpers, healers, mentors for a time. But at some point, I mean, and I have my own, of course, we all have our own mentors.
Yeah.
Hopefully, I think it's good, but maybe not be overly attached to them as in a cult or a religion. Like I try to boot them out of the nest, because I don't want to be like, oh, Dr. Liz, like just for a time, 5 months, a year, or something, whatever the time is, or back once a year, or every 5 years, because I think that we're in charge of our own sovereignty and personal agency.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We each need to be our own guru. You know,
Yes.
how I look at it as, as children, it's like we all know the difference between right and wrong. We all know that, something inside, maybe it just doesn't feel right. But then we're taught, like, well, you're going to do that anyway. You have to do that. Eat those Brussels sprouts, like whatever it is, you're going to
Right.
go to school or you're going to go do this. And like it doesn't feel good inside, but that and so we know that whatever we're being told isn't right for us. But then it happens so many times over and over that we start overriding that inner guidance system, and then we're told that the guru, the authority figure, it's your mother, your father, the teacher, the preacher, the government, the
The
whatever,
guru. Hmm.
right? And it's like we
Yeah.
all have our
Or
own.
the diet or the exercise fad. I've been involved with all of those too. Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. And the other thing too, Lisa, is there's so many ways. So there's so many clients too. Like I've developed a fun thing is every time I find myself into learning something new, I end up having a client that asks about it. Have you found the same thing? Probably.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so, but I'll have like I'm not a psychic medium where I talk to the dead. I can. I was trained to talk to the dead, but I
Mhm.
don't tend to just do it. I have office hours. I don't they don't come bothering me. But I had a client who wanted the teaching in it, so I taught this person, and then I taught them just how to I developed it was fun to develop a psychic system where you can just go up and out with your soul, whether whatever plane you want to get to, and you could talk to the dead. You could talk to the dead, your dead critters that passed over, your pets. You can talk to higher beings like the angels, guides, the divine legion of angels, God, source, whoever you talk to. So
Mhm.
it doesn't have to be just a dead person. There's so many different planes of existence. You can just go up and out and meet where you want. The shamans taught me that, you know, but I kind of Englishized it or kind of simplified it. So it's not just psychic mediumship training or here's psychic training in general, but I just love to base my work off the client and what they're wanting and what they need. And then actually sometimes the information, probably with you too, just hits of what to say. Like I had a client in France who wanted some healing, shamanic healing for some very serious health challenges she was having. This was just 2 days ago. And I had no idea because it was over Zoom, but she was very ill laying in bed. I wasn't sure what to do. Do I do a shamanic thing? Do I do a motion code type? Do I do my quantum rewiring? How much talk or thinking am I going to require from her?
Mhm.
And my people, my spirit guides, my team, just downloaded what I should do right there. Do you find the same thing?
Yes,
Like
absolutely.
in the moment, you just get the direction of what to do.
Yes, when we open up, we just open our hearts, we open that mind, the thinker, we stop the thinking and we just open up and we receive the inner guidance. For
Yeah.
sure.
Oh, and the other thing I'll tell you too, and you know this already, and so would probably do your listeners, is that when you start to open up to guidance, whatever you want to call it, I think your subconscious, your higher mind, whatever is like, oh, she's listening. And it opens up even more and it gets more accurate. So in my training, I'll tell someone, like I'll do a shamanic thing. I was doing it yesterday with somebody. And I go, what are you seeing here? Like, I don't see in my mind. I said, yes, you do. I said, if you could see, like, just pretend that's the trick. If
Exactly.
you could see, or if you could hear something, let's just make it up, what would it be hearing? And then I go, well, I'll bring some one part of my work is I bring back personality parts. That's part of the quantum rewiring. Is I'll talk to lost parts and I bring them back off the ledge like so many lemmings. I
Mhm.
mean, I say that with full loving respect and fun. Like, so I take the parts and reintegrate them with the main personality. That's the psychology piece. So I'll be talking with the parts, and often I'll push it onto the client. I can do that work, but I can also encourage them to begin hearing so they can serve their parts because sometimes parts want to come back, but they don't want to come back if you're no fun, or they don't want to come back if they're going to have a miserable time with you. And they often come back like teenagers, like they want you to play more.
Yeah,
Or sometimes they want to say, "Hey, I can help you not decide not to go down that dark alley at night." They can give advice and things like that. So if they can't see, I'll tell them. So what if the part could talk to you? What would it be saying? Like, well, I should be nicer to my mother, whatever it is, right? So and but it's a kind of that push because they just don't they think they need full paragraphs and full sentences or the full on vision when it might just be a word. And I know you know what I'm talking about, but or it might just be a picture like that. So many ways to help, so many ways to facilitate, so many ways to support, and so many needs. And I'm just honored that people ask us for support. It's an honor.
exactly. So let's talk a little bit more about parts because most people don't realize that there are parts of ourselves
Oh,
that are
oh,
stuck.
oh!
You
You're
know,
talking
they
about something I love. Talk about.
right?
Woo!
It's like when we don't
So
understand that there are parts that are actually running the show, parts
yes,
that are trying to keep us safe, that
yes,
actually prevent us from moving forward. And if we don't recognize that there's a part that is keeping us from moving forward because it's trying to keep us safe, we never get to move forward. We never get to
okay,
reintegrate that part.
right. So are you ready? Are you
Yes,
ready? Okay,
I'm ready.
okay. So, as part of the psychology training I've had, a guy named Richard Schwartz, who's out of Boston, he wrote a book called No Bad Parts. And if any of you out there want to know about parts, read No Bad Parts. It's he took this idea of family therapy where you sit as members of family and talk about mom talks to the son. And he said, what if there are internal family systems? So using, and this is a psychology framework. It may not be true, but it seems to work for healing therapy, for therapeutic healing. It seems to work. So it works for me. And a lot of people resonate with it. And the idea is you have an internal family. Now, it may not be mommy and daddy and sister and brother, but it might be the enforcer, it might be the protector, it might be the fireman, might be different parts that, and we don't even have, Richard Schwartz labels them. I don't even feel the need to label them. They can come at the parts can gather as clicks. So the idea is that we're not actually not made of one mono mind. It might actually be that every time you have a painful thought, memory, or emotion or trauma, those frequency patterns set off certain hormones. And actually, and this is just Liz's theory, can actually become a new generated part. So hold on a second. So I have I some of my main work is basically by Dr. Gary Flint, A Theory and Treatment of Your Personality. See, it's so handy. I've read this enough. Oh my God. And then Healing Your Mind and Soul. He's dead now. He died in 2012, I think, but he allowed all of us to use his stuff. He didn't copyright it. But this is where he's talking about real in-depth soul work. So, folks, if you want to get very heady, look into Gary Flint. So Gary Flint and Richard Schwartz are my main guys. I have some other dead white psychologists. Sorry, but no, Richard's still alive. But anyway, I have another guy out there. I can't remember his name right now. But the idea is we posit that any painful event can actually become a new part, but that we didn't start out as one mono mind. We actually have many, many parts to start with. Maybe like the number of days in a year. Who knows? So the idea is that during a painful trauma or event, these parts will either like sometimes they just disappear until I'm out, like say during, really painful trauma events I won't name for this podcast, but painful things that people do to people. Some parts go, I'm out, I'm done. But what happens is a lot of times if we get a trigger, or if we're on on substances that aren't good for us or something like that, these parts can take over. They're like the trauma parts, and they can take over, and they're the ones that are acting out. They're the ones that are yelling and screaming and pitching a fit, going to jail, going back on substances that are not good for them, making decisions, they're crashing cars, stealing cars, whatever it is. Those parts get the wisdom, if you will, in managing the triggering, but the main personality takes a back seat. So the main person, what I tell clients is the main personality doesn't get the training in handling a trigger. Like, let's say a boyfriend broke up with you when you were 12 and you hate all men now, all boys. And then you're dating someone and he doesn't call you back. And then you go right back to the immediate trigger. You guys, listeners, it happens in so many things in life. If you understand what a trigger is. If that thing wasn't processed originally, we can be triggered. And I know you're nodding, so I know you know. And a lot of those who facilitate healing, we understand this. So my work goes in to talk to the parts. I actually put them in a loving waiting room and I talk to them in spirit with my intuition. I muscle test and find out how many there are, talk to them. I get them. Well, the client really does. I just facilitate the meeting. I'm the therapist, and we're all internal family systems in the room, right? In the Zoom room or whatever. The parts go back, but then we help the client understand what the client might want to do to keep them. They usually stay, and what they can do for the client. And I kind of lure and invite I use the higher mind or the superconscious or God, whatever works with the client, to also train them and work with the parts to heal them. It's not me doing it, right? Again, I facilitate healing. So I talk to the parts and say, hey, talk to the superconscious mind or Lisa's higher mind and realize that what I'm telling you is true. But we'd love you to come back to the main personality because we could really use your wisdom and your savvy. You know how to handle Lisa in crisis, but we're going to do things differently now. And so now we're not going to freak out, throw the knife at the person. We're not going to like flip out, run down the street, leave house, whatever, go crazy. All the things we do when we're triggered. We're going to handle this in a calm. We're going to, as we say, like regulate our emotions or move toward emotional regulation. So that, and I do that with like combining with shamanic journeying and visioning. So I've got the energy stuff, and I can throw in emotion code or some Reiki. I mean, all that happens. I mean, I kind of intentionally set Reiki going when I get a client on the phone. But thank you for asking. But does that explain parts enough? I figure you know about it, but people can reach out to me if they have questions for sure.
Beautiful. Yeah, I look at parts like a little bit differently in that I mean I haven't read the books. I haven't been trained in, internal family systems.
And you're probably right.
Uh,
Yeah.
like there's I don't think there is like right or wrong, but as far as just my own inner guidance is, we have been separated really into body, mind, and soul. And we live in our minds mostly rather than in our souls. And then that mind gets every time we get a trauma, it's like I look at in the beginning, we're each this whole being. And I look at it like being inside a beautiful crystalline sphere, like a snow globe. And when that globe is clear and bright and beautiful, we have this beautiful 360-degree view in all directions, and life is just beautiful. And but then if we have a trauma, that impact, it kind of cracks the glass. And once we get all of these cracks in the glass, it's like these parts, we start looking almost like a mirror ball. It's like if we're looking through one part of the mirror, we're not seeing what all the other parts are seeing. And one of the ways I learned this, I want to say learned, but I saw this initially was um, with a military guy, somebody that I had gone to school with, came back here in where I live and ended up just standing on the sidewalk with a cup. And I was like, oh my gosh, this beautiful, beautiful soul was so gorgeous when we were going to school together, and he just so kind and loving. And then to see this person just standing with a cup, it was horrible. And one day I he was very volatile and people didn't want to come up and approach him or talk to him. And just one day I just had the intuition, as my heart was really open, and I went up to him and just said hello and asked if he remembered who I was, and he said yes. And I asked, I said, would it be okay if I gave you a hug? And he said, yeah. And so I just went up and I just hugged him. And in that moment, it was like I was standing inside this mirror ball. And basically, what I realized was that his soul had been so fractured that he didn't know what to do anymore. It was like he couldn't put the pieces back together. And that's when I realized, like, oh my gosh, this person has just literally been fractured, and he can no longer function normally. But it didn't really, it didn't occur to me like how to put that all back together until more recently, when I started really understanding about the parts and pieces. And not that I could help him to unfracture himself, because that was
Mhm.
way beyond my pay grade.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
to
Military
work
training.
with my
Mhm.
clients, and when I see a client who's, like, really in fear of something, I'll say, "All right, well, what part of you is in fear? Let's open up your angel wings first. Let's kinda remember who we really are, and then let's look at that part. What part is that? How old is that part?"
Yep. Yep. I ask similar questions to my clients. Exactly.
Yeah,
I like
and
it.
it's really helpful.
Mhm.
So I look more at the parts as like,
Oh,
okay, we
oh,
got the soul and then we got the human part, and then
right.
the human part is what
Right.
gets fractured.
Well, I hear what you're saying, and you're right. I look at it all as one piece already. Like I'm not looking at. So remember when I said that I think that the trauma can become frequency patterns, which become hormones and chemicals, and become can actually turn into a part. What a psychologist would say, whatever. What we say is when you talk about being fractured, the work that I'm not saying the work I do, but the work with whatever it is we're doing to help facilitate healing heals the trauma through bringing back those parts, and they can release the cortisol and adrenaline. I mean, not release it, stop releasing it,
Right.
and reintegrate, and the healing is there. And also in a lot of my work and other people's work is getting into body through yoga, like I mentioned, through somatic experiencing, somatic breath work, yoga nidra, all the things. What does Huberman call it? Non-sleep deep rest or whatever. He had to rename it, right? Which brings me to another point, as you said, angel wings, which is delightful and amazing. I know a lot of my clients are very mainstream and are warriors or military. So for me, like I've also had to kind of what I say, warriorize my language. Because if I told my sergeant major across the street, like, said, let's just open up our wings, he would laugh his ass off and walk away. So
It
so
takes
it's just all really
confidence for
fun to
to get to
also
that point.
connect in ways that are appropriate through mirror neurons and through matching speech, but also matching language to some extent. So it's been fun for me to, in certain communities, talk about divine legions of angels, and in other communities say, "All right, what's going on? Yeah, you want to keep your wife, right? Do this." So you know, so I believe I agree with you that what I'm hearing you say is staying in body or getting back in body and not being so dissociated, but coming back into body. And like now, with my own personal training, I probably wouldn't help a soldier like that. Thank you for hugging him. I would have to refer him on because he'd be on my standard of care if someone's really that bad, because I don't have a psychology certification. I just have the training. So, but I love that. I know that I have my limits of what I can do for people. They have to be doing kind of okay, you know, but not schizophrenic, like not with some DSM diagnoses and stuff for sure. But
Yeah.
anyone sub that, it's great to work with people. And I know you enjoy it as well.
Yeah. I look at it as we are souls first and foremost. That is who and what we are, whole and complete and divine and sacred. And we are the
Yes.
soul animating the body, if
Right? We're
that makes
souls and we're cells. We're like cells of the entire human organism. So as you help someone, you're like the liver cell helping a spleen cell. And I feel if humanity, if we actually, I'm going to get woo, but here's my angel wings showing that if we could actually all understand that, there wouldn't be wars, you know?
exactly.
We could take off these green pajamas and go home, but like there
Exactly.
wouldn't be wars, but a lot of us really do feel isolated into tribes. And I do think that, not to get all conspiracy on us, but I do think that society has fomented the various divides we have on us that
Absolutely.
aren't real, you know
Yes.
that are created, and we find ourselves falling into these camps or cults and leaning to the right or to the left, but you know what I mean, like we fall into, oh, I look like this and you look like that, or I have this racial or cultural background or heritage, and then we fight. And I think it's being fomented on us. And so I think, if I feel you understand it, I understand it, many of your listeners do, but it's really, we're just all one humanity. We are all one. We actually are the I am.
Exactly.
How
Yeah.
heretical is that to hear?
Right? Yeah.
Like Jesus even said, Psalm 82, ye are gods, so small g gods, I'll say, but we're aspects of the divine here to be in the garden and steward it. And I'm not trying to be a biblical Christian. I'm saying it is another faith story that's out there. So we're here to steward in the garden.
Exactly.
And
Yes.
so that's why when I have clients, I coach as well. Like I'll say to them, I say this sometimes, the I am statements I have them do are the most important. Like they may not be ready to say I am yet, but that I am amazing and wonderful. I am fit and strong. I am getting better every day. I am the luckiest woman or man. All the I am statements. I'm getting younger every day. I'm getting healthier every day. I am always a success. All those things, they're actually in the back of my, I know you haven't brought it up yet. It's okay, in the back of my book, I just have a chapter on, possible affirmations. You can get affirmations anywhere, but I thought, why not put in a chapter of that in my book? But so people can just, those I am statements are super important and then people can finally just, one of my clients just said, her name's Luce. She goes, I just realized I'm just the I am. I'm like, yes,
Yes, exactly. Yes, and we can shape ourselves in any way we desire. And when we say, I am not okay, then that's how it has to be because we are the creator of ourselves. So when we come up with a powerful I am statement, mine is I am a brilliant, confident, joyful woman expressing my truth and leading by example.
love it.
I had to say that. I said that 100 times a day for 33 days straight until it just became part of who I am. And I realized I can be this. This is who I can be. I can be anything I choose. And,
Exactly.
you know,
And I have been saying the same affirmations for years and years. You want to hear one of my favorites? It's a
yeah,
4 lines. Let me see if I can do. I'm the luckiest woman. Reality is rigged in my favor. Everything always works out for me. Everything is always for me. Another one is I'm always having the best day ever. Wonderful things are always happening in my life. I'm always having happy surprises. I love all of them. Blah, 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 all of them. But
that
I've been saying to them for me for years, and I I feel extremely blessed. Of course, we're always pushing the growing edge of where we're at or where we want to go, but I'm in a good place. I feel in a good place, really blessed. Having done personal work, perhaps being, I feel totally led by source. Like source is just going, no, little one over this way, no, little one over this way, you know? So, and I say that I'm not deprecating. I'm just like compared to source. Yes, I'm a little aspect of the divine, perhaps, the little I am that's here. Like I'm not creator God, but we are a creator God. Maybe not source. I mean, that's just how Liz thinks about it, but she said speaking in third person.
right? And it's like, I realize that when I just get out of the way and just allow my light to shine, that light is the light of source, and that light will guide me. And I don't have to have all the answers. The answers just automatically come. But I have to have my light shining. I have to be open. I have to be in that space of love and joy. And it wasn't easy for me to come to that point. I was on the verge of suicide for quite a few years. And
Sorry to hear that.
yeah, it was not fun. But I was just really depressed and angry, really resentful about, I don't understand why we are all doing this crazy stuff on this planet. Why are we fighting? Why are we doing this whole money thing? Like, what is going on here?
Right.
It didn't make any sense to me whatsoever, and I didn't wanna participate in any of that, and I thought that I needed to leave my body in order to get out of the system to be able to stop participating. But finally I realized, well, suicide's certainly not gonna be the answer, because leaving my body is not gonna leave my problems behind. My problems, I'm still gonna have to solve those problems, because
I've often wondered, am I going to have to go back and do this again? Hell no. I've lived
exactly,
longer than I'm going to live. I'll fix it here, darn it.
exactly, that's what I
I
came
don't know if that's true, but I've wondered.
yeah, like, I came to that realization. It was like when I was really, really, like, serious and ready to call it quits, suddenly I just realized, like, "Oh my gosh, this is not gonna solve my problem," you
Yeah,
know?
I had did a small teaching recently on do your life review now, because I do believe that after we croak, there is some sort of life review. Like you re-experience all the good and all the bad you've done, right? And I'm like, just do it now. Do it now. Do it now. Like
Exactly,
whether you can't even go to the person actually and say sorry because they're too painful, too dangerous, or something, you can do it in your heart. That's a whole other topic of forgiveness and moving forward, or asking for forgiveness, or fixing what you did. But you can spend some part of your life, I think one could, writing down and doing all those things. And that's a whole study. But I would say do your life review now.
exactly.
Yeah.
And it was like when I learned how to really step into my higher self, when I
Hmm.
could step away from the programmed, conditioned mind and step back into my soul's knowing,
Hmm.
then it was easier to look back at my human self, my personality, and go, oh my gosh, no wonder all of these things happened. You know,
Right.
like I could see all of the traumas that I had been going through and realize, like, I was always doing the best I could in every moment, but I didn't have all the information. I didn't understand how we as humanity are being manipulated and controlled in so many different ways. And so
Right.
I started to realize, wait a second, the system is not really set up in our favor.
Oh no. And that's of course, as you know, a whole other topic. Like, so how do we deal living in this crazy world? Yeah.
Yeah,
How do you manage it? Like, I think some people go mainstream normie and they just collect the things and the money because that's how they know. That's what they know.
But
And
we're
there's
taught.
others of us, yes, we need to get our bills paid for now. We still have a money system for now. But I think as we awaken, we begin to think, well, how can I serve? Of course, I've got bills, I've got family, I love it, whatever. But how do I serve? How do I begin to serve at the highest level?
Yeah,
How do I
exactly.
live my passion out? What did like back to the original question? What did I come here to do? And I'll tell you, folks, is to live out your highest passion to the
Yeah,
extent that you can.
right? This is I love this. I was writing a Facebook post to my group about this morning. I was talking about we're taught that we have to work to earn our living and that,
Great topic.
life
Great topic.
is hard and, we were taught to be
Great
consumers.
topic.
And I realized, like, if we are here and we're just giving our gifts, if we're here contributing our gifts and talents to society, then we're literally living in our highest joy. And that's when we're playing. And when we're playing, everything just flows easily. And this was my thing when I had to go to work and get some soul sucking
Yeah.
job.
That's the trick, isn't it? That's the block because people like we could talk to 200 people out there right now like, "Yeah, so how am I gonna pay my bills? Are you gonna" So, it's that trust, and I'll tell you, I am 61, like I said, I just on January 2nd of this year was able to finally not have the fear anymore, like, "You know what? God, I'm serving at the highest level, you're in charge. So, keep me here on the earth plane or not, up to you." I'm serving I do much more pro bono work now for clients who can't pay or don't feel they can pay. Um, I've just made the separation, and I have more money in my bank accounts now. I don't know how the future is going to hold, but it took me years to not go because, of course, I was in the military. I had to work anyway. I mean, whatever. So it wasn't a question, but just to be able to go, oh my gosh, because I left before I don't have a 20. So I don't have a pension. I
Yeah,
don't have any safety net. Believe me, that caused me some depression for a couple of years. But
right.
I'm like, hey, I'm here. I'm showing up. I'm helping. I'm writing, and Source is going to take care of me or not. I'm going to be here or not, and I don't care. Like I've lived a really good life. I don't think I'm done yet. When I talk to Source, when I have my little, I've never had a Kundalini experience. When I have little like, woohoo, here, wow, yay, it's some sort of really feel good meditation. I'll be a little TMI, but I hear like there's love and there's money. Like you're going to be provided for is the point. There's love and there's money. You're going to be provided for. And so just like you have more to do, so get out there and do it. So it's almost like a life experiment where I've actually lost the financial anxiety and I am not working for the man again or the woman. And it's nothing against people who need to be doing that. Like I said, it took me till 60 to figure it out, but
Right.
I wanna say that I was finally able to make that break, and also, frankly, I'm not supporting children, a spouse right now. I'm not, you know, I'm free and easy, so I'm not bringing anyone down with me at the moment, but I don't intend to ever, like I'm hoping to never have a job. I do recommend for people that when you're able to work for yourself, if and when you're able, and I'd also say do your passion even as a side hustle or even as studying something for 5 minutes at night when you have a minute, you know? Even if you're working the day job, you got the kids, you got the daycare, you got the husband, the wife, this partner, you got the dogs, you got the cats. Even if you could watch a 5 minute video or something, research something that you're curious about for 5 minutes until it can become a side hustle, until it can become something full time. It's so much better for the soul, but we do what we can. And there's no judgment here on people who can't. Like I said, I couldn't
Oh,
for
we all
years.
have done
For
this.
years. I did another uh, some content the other day too about how it took me 20 years to actually have the patience to meditate. Because you hear me, I talk fast, I move fast. It's very hard for me to sit still. It took me for 20 years to successfully meditate. So I'm in it with y'all.
Exactly. Like I never
I'm like
realized.
a wild thing landing here for this podcast. But I'm like, there's part of my spirit's like, I want to run around. I'm like Atalanta, if you guys know your Greek myths, but I'm like Atalanta just running through the woods. But then I land occasionally to be on soup. Woohoo! But yeah.
I love it. So we've been able to take our conversation in all these different directions. Yeah, I realized that, it was really hard for me to meditate for a long time too. And then when I found myself facing cancer, I was like, "Oh, I need to get myself together. Like I am the creator here. Like I don't know how I
Yes,
created this, but I
yes.
created it. And if I created it, I can also uncreate it, but I'm going
Mhm.
to have to uncreate it from my masterful self. Like I
Right.
can't be running
Oh,
around
I
being
love that. Do you mind if I point out something you said earlier? Bring us
oh,
back to
sure.
something you said earlier?
Yeah.
You said, if I'm not okay, I have found and other people who do coaching, like law of attraction shit. Sorry, I curse, but um, that even saying the negative words aren't always heard by the soul. So it's actually okay. Neville Goddard has a ladder technique you may be familiar with. He talks about to prove to yourself that the knots nevers never know you. If you're really stuck and you say, I'll never be on a ladder. I'm never going to climb a ladder. I'm never going to climb a ladder. Neville Goddard would say within 2 weeks, you'll be finding yourself climbing a ladder because you say, I will climb a ladder, is actually what the subconscious hears. So I think that's fun, but it's okay if people make little mistakes in affirmation writing because, or if you're really stuck with something like, I'll never get married, like, I'll never get money, I'll never have a job, I'll never be healthy. And you really cry out like that. Sometimes the soul just hears, I will be healthy. So it's just a fun little thought to throw in there.
Yeah.
Super fun. Thank you for letting me share.
Sure. I really look at it as, it really happens as we believe. So when I believed that I wasn't okay, that I didn't fit in, that I didn't have anything to contribute, that I had to have some soul sucking job, that became my life. And it was really unpleasant.
Yes.
And then when I realized, like, oh, wait a second, I have to change everything up, I got really, really quiet and I
Right.
started to just sit in
Right.
this question, like, what do I need to know in order for this to change? And I had to sit quietly in that question until the answer came. And then when the answer came, like whoosh, it just shifted everything in an instant. And
It
it
sounds like your healing came from connection to source. Source is like,
absolutely
"Oh, here you are.
where it always
Oh, where have you
comes from.
been? Oh, you're finally asking for help. Okay, you're not doing it yourself, trying to make your own money, trying to do your own thing, your own meds over here. You're like, "Oh, welcome, be healed."
Right?
We're not saying that's everyone's story. It's just,
Yeah.
but here's the thing too, when you start to do work to undo that subconscious programming, the question is, does it just take positive affirmations or the positive stuff, or is there some help we can offer the soul to begin to undo that from inside? Now, I do think that if you just went positive, you could you could heal it all. I will say in my, again, 40 years, 20, 10 years of whatever experience, that if you could get some coaching, mentoring, guidance, I know I said no gurus, but or even do a process yourself where you could teach yourself somatic experiencing or somatic breath work, yoga nidra, yoga, some or qigong, tai chi, something to move the fluids around in the nadis or the meridians, or something like whether you do it yourself or with a friend or buddy, guidance counselor, that you can, I think you can get in and help clean it up and get the process to move faster, is my point.
For
But if
sure.
someone's stuck and just does the positive stuff, I think it will work. But it may take some time because we hit it a couple different directions. The affirmations go in the conscious mind into the subconscious, and then I believe reach the superconscious mind, which I believe is source. And then you can go subliminally right into the subconscious mind, or as you know, as you're falling asleep, in these states of deep meditation, like an alpha or even better theta, where you get into those states. And then there's the actions we take in the world. There's all different avenues in, and I just find it's better for folks, your listeners, if you take a number of different avenues and approaches, whether it's inspired action, affirmations, positive, and then some body work or some internal subliminal type work. I think it's all very useful for
Absolutely.
people as they awaken.
Yeah. And if you want to learn, how to heal yourself or how to do qigong or how to do, it really helpful to go to somebody who actually knows what they're
Yeah,
doing to
yeah,
to give you the shortcut to that.
yes.
Uh,
As I have, right? I
e-
still have mentors and guides for a time for the learning, but I'm not attached like, oh my God, they're my life.
exactly.
Yeah.
All the answers are within when we learn how
So
to
much
practice.
so. And we certainly don't we, Lisa? I'm sorry I interrupted you. I'm just excited. We
Yeah,
reach out for information from others until we're ready to go inside and understand it just comes from in here. And then the guidance and help we get from out here just pushes us The best guidance would just push us back inside. Like I had a friend yesterday asking me, "Tell me about my dream. I had this dream and this and this and this happened." I'm like, "No, no, no. I'm not telling you about your dream. I'll tell you how to figure out what's in your dream."
Exactly.
So kind of teach people to fish, you know?
Exactly. Yes. It's like we can't do it for them. I say that all healing is self-healing, but we don't
It
have
is.
to do it by ourselves. You
I
know,
like that. That's a
can
great statement.
always have help from others who have already walked that path, who already are experts in these fields, whatever
Yes,
it is that we want to learn. Even if we want to learn
exactly.
qigong all by ourselves, we go to YouTube and we watch a video. Somebody's doing it, or we read a book. Somebody wrote the book. Like,
Right, right. So funny. Exactly,
beautiful.
exactly.
So tell us, how do you mostly work with your clients? Who are your clients? And so if anybody in the audience is wanting to reach out to you, who are your ideal clients?
Oh, yes, my client avatars, love it. So I have 2 groups of clients, usually women in their 50s, because I'm a little ahead of them. Usually spouse has croaked or divorced or moved on, or they just have money now, or kids have gone out of the house, and there's some time for them to make some changes. My biggest cli Then I also have the military, because I was in the military. So the very different population, so I kinda split a little and warriorize it for this group and open up my angel wings for this group. In a way, sort of. So yeah, so those are my clients. And so the kinds of things I do is I offer coaching in a way to wrap it all together. And I can help anybody with freaking anything. If you want to be trim and fit, if you want to keep your family, if you want to get in a relationship, if you want to, you know, work your business, anything you want to talk about, I can help. But I do it with, and the reason I said what I said a few minutes earlier is I think that I and others can offer helps to kind of begin to get into that subconscious programming to undo it and reprogram it because we are, as we said a number of times, we are the I am. We are children of God. We are aspects of the divine. Like I look at all of us as if one gigantic stained glass or one glass diamond, that's what it is, like 8.5 billion faceted diamond. And we're all in charge of our own polishing our own little facet. So this God shines out. So I came up with that a long time ago, really easy, obvious metaphor, but I help you polish your facets. So, like, you're doing the work, but I'll help with some guidance. And I do law of affirmation and attraction work, but then I offer the healing and or a really deep ass kicking shamanic journey or vision quest if people want to go deep and find out their original wounding for the thing that happened and go get some power animals and go get some treasures and whatever. I worked with a cancer client on that, did that kind of thing just the other day. But anyway, so blah blah blah. It's just I work with clients like that, and sometimes people ask me for specific things, like I said, can you train me in psychic work? Like, okay. Can you train me to be a psychic medium? Like, okay. Um, can or just even pure psychology because I was a counselor. Like, how do I keep my family? I would talk to them about the drama triangle and talk to them about emotions and how to manage emotions and how to fog and how to be a gray rock and how to do all the things working with crazy families. When I say crazy families, I'm not talking about antisocial personality disorder types like narcissists. I'm talking normal, shitty families, So help in all those areas. So, but
Uh,
we can just have, if someone wants to talk to me, I usually offer a free half hour to see if we'd be good together. And sometimes people get squared away in half an hour and they can go on their merry way, or they sign up with me for whatever. Sometimes we can just go like that. And it's again, it's them doing the work. You're doing the work.
yes. Wow, I
Mhm.
love it.
I'm so
Beautiful.
glad you had me on. Thank you so much.
Oh, you are so welcome. And how do people reach out to you, Liz? Where do they find you?
Well, you can reach out to me. I'm going to say it and spell it. I have an email, a safe email for initial contact is munaiki123 at proton.me. It's MUNAYKI123 at proton.me. Um, but I also have a website, lizleclair.com. And I also have a website with my business partner who's still in the military for one more month, themindshiftcenter.net. And maybe you could put it in the description if you want,
I
themindshiftcenter.net.
will
But
absolutely put
in
those.
both of those websites have an email where you could reach me.
Beautiful.
And so, yeah. And I'm on Telegram at Liz and Kids. Someone wants to reach me at Liz, LIZNKIDS, if someone wants to reach out to me.
Beautiful. Wow, Liz, this has been such a fun conversation. We've covered a lot
Hasn't it?
of territory today. It's been really fun. Thank you so much.
Well, we've both been around the block and done some things, right?
Exactly.
You as well, my dear. You as well.
We all have for certain. And your book, tell us the name of your book one more
Oh,
time.
yeah.
Show
Thank you.
us
It's
that
called The
book.
Light Within: Navigating the World of Energy and Consciousness. This is basically for those who are metaphysical, it's basic, and I say that lovingly because this is basically a metaphysical primer for like, well, what's an aura? Kind of, it's kind of a little higher than that level. So it's basically using your a golden light above your head and golden stuff in your body. You can use white light as well, but different techniques and ways to manage your energy, to run energy, to ground energy, to protect yourself, to be liked and it's got a little mini Dale Carnegie in it, like how to win friends and influence people. It's got a little bit how to, mirror people and work with people, and how before an interview or before a first date, you can actually get the person to like you and be fond of you before you even enter the room. How to enter a room energetically. If there's a commander, you want to be just under the commander, but you want to own the room otherwise. How to walk in a room and own it, all so sort of the techniques, and it's also some coaching about affirmations in there. So it's a gentle, a metaphysical primer of how to manage your energy and consciousness. I have other books in the docket, but this had to come out first. I vomited this up. Sorry, I sat on it for 2 years, and it's basic for those who've been doing it for years, but it's really good primer for people who are like, what? Energy work? How you could so if people love the Holy Spirit, for example, it's like doing psychic surgery, not like removing a liver kind, but it's psychic surgery of how to go in and heal using your energy. Because we believe as shamans, we believe that stuff happens in energy world first. I'm doing this because imagine the beginning of the Mississippi River. You can change the course of the Mississippi up in Minnesota or wherever by moving some boulders around. But by the time it gets to, and that's the energy world, right? Then it gets down into the emotions in the middle of the country. And then by the time it gets to the Mississippi Delta, you ain't moving that river. That's the physical. So we play an energy world to get the physical to behave or to like heal or feel better.
Exactly.
So
And
that's what the
that's
book's
why,
about.
yeah, and that's why our once something enters the physical realm, so a disease, let's say, it's not the body that's the problem. It's
No,
what's upriver. We have to look
yeah,
upstream.
exactly. And
What
then by the time it gets to the
older,
body, it could take months and years to heal. Maybe. I mean, I'm not trying to put that on anybody, but the mind can shift in an instant and emotions can a couple instants later. And then as you know, as you start there, it can get into physical form, depending on how far gone the physical body is, you know. But
right?
everything is a tell, everything's a read receipt of our lives. Everything, your world out there is telling you how you're doing, and not to blame or victimize. It's just there are areas of what we say growing edges for us.
Exactly. I love that. So I love this analogy about the river and the boulders because it's always the boulders that we need to look for because that is what is directing the
And they
course.
might even be pebbles at some level, right? It may not even be a boulder,
Sure.
but just
Yeah.
a quick, that's what the energy works for, the Reiki, the quantum rewiring,
Yeah.
the emotion code, the shamanic visioning. It's all to change the energy world.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's why, healing always comes from the inside out. Doesn't come from
Right.
the pills. It doesn't come from that. It comes
Right.
from being
Yeah.
able to remove those boulders and get the energy flowing again.
Yeah. I think the work for both of us, you too, probably, Lisa, is to help people with their consciousness, to awaken consciousness,
Yep.
raise awareness.
Sure. Exactly. This is the time of the great awakening. We are all opening up our consciousness to realize, like,
So
wow,
be it.
there's a whole
Yep.
lot more that
Make
we
it
can do
so.
here.
Mhm.
I love
Make it
that.
so.
Wow.
Absolutely.
Liz, thank you so much. This has been such a fun conversation today. And so
Mhm.
if you are looking to reach out to Liz, check out the show notes because the links will be in the show
Oh,
notes.
thank you.
Yeah, so thank you all for listening again today to Soul Stories because every soul has a story and you can make your story a great story because
That's
you
right.
are the creator of your story. You have far more power than you've been allowed to know. So we are here to help you remember the power that you actually have. So until next time, create for yourselves a great story because you can. Thanks for watching, everyone. Bye for now. Thanks for listening to this episode of Connecting You to You Radio. If you've enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe and share it with your friends. Are you ready to discover more about how simple healing your body can actually be when you do it from the higher wisdom of your soul? To learn more about what I do and how you can work with me, visit connectingyoutoyou.com and get on my mailing list to be the first to know about my latest offerings. If you'd like to interact with me on Facebook, please join my group, Soul Sourced Healing. Check the show notes below for these links and more. I hope to see you again next time on Connecting You to You Radio.